Here's a lovely line about averages. Take a man and put one of his feet in a bucket of ice and the other in a bucket of boiling water, and on average, he's comfortable. On average, Jackson Hole, Wyoming is a really comfortable place to live, but as Ben Tracy found, it does help if you have a lot of money.
Jackson, Wyoming is often called the last of the Old West. Its cowboy culture runs so deep, it even rides along on the morning cup of coffee. And while some of the best things in life here may be free, you pay a steep price to live in this valley known as Jackson Hole.
I love this community and I love the place where I live, but there is always that question in the back of your mind of, are you going to be able to survive here?
Elizabeth Hutchings moved here from Massachusetts in 2018. For the first 7 months, the only place she could afford to live was in her van. Between living in your van, your car, and various apartments, how many places have you lived here in 4 years?
Let's see, van, 8 or 9.
8 or 9.
And in a lot of places, there's been that question of, oh, this is home, but for how long?
Teton County is now home to a divide bigger than those mountains for which it's named. It is the wealthiest and most unequal in America. The average income here is $312,000. The median home price in the county is now more than $3.6 million. That's left a food pantry overwhelmed by demand, staring at $6 million townhomes rising across the street.
The level of wealth you see and the level of disparity that you see, I mean, some people have more money you could spend in 10 lifetimes.
There's a saying in town that you either have 3 homes or 3 jobs. Many workers have been forced to cheaper towns nearly 40 miles away over sometimes treacherous roads. Hutchings works at a local restaurant and shares this basement apartment with a roommate. It's the most stable housing she's ever had here.
If you're spending so much of your time driving or so much of your time working just trying to survive, I think everybody has that question of, is it worth it?
This area here is actually one of the holdovers in town that I imagine in 5 years even will look very different.
Yale School of the Environment professor Justin Farrell grew up in Wyoming and is author of the book Billionaire Wilderness. He says the middle class here has been completely hollowed out. Inequality is an issue playing out across the country. Is it uniquely bad here?
It is uniquely bad, actually. It's nation-leading bad. If you're making $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, you're likely living in your car, or you're living 45 minutes away. For most people, it's becoming unlivable.
The reason, he says, is that the ultra-wealthy find Teton County very livable. Their arrival here accelerated during COVID. The desire for multi-million-dollar mountain escapes has created a new land rush.
Americans have always looked west. It's always been the lodestar of American identity. And probably Jackson Hole with the cowboy image and the Tetons, it's, I think, what makes it so special for so many people. On top of that, it's functionally a tax haven. So Wyoming does not have a state income tax, it doesn't have a corporate tax, so it's a really great place to park your money legally.
All that wealth is cleverly disguised behind a facade of pickup trucks and jeans. It's almost as if the landmark watering hole, the $1 million cowboy bar, knew what was coming.
This place is really unique because it allows people to engage in this personal transformation to become a normal person. They rely on the Western stereotypes to do that. And so you have these millionaires and even billionaires dressing in Wrangler jeans, dressing down, trying to avoid any sort of class indicators that might make them look wealthy. And I think it's really well-intentioned.
Phil Hartle is a private wealth advisor who moved here from high-tax California.
Good girl.
He and his wife Monica relocated to Jackson in late 2020.
It was really about living in a different kind of place and really being closer to nature. And so it's tremendous to be a part of that.
I get a sense that you really do have a respect for the place, and I don't want
so.
this to sound rude, but I assume you're aware that some people here think you're part of the problem.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
How does that feel?
It's my responsibility to show them that, I understand that we came here more recently. We're COVID babies, right? But at the same time, if you approach it with a regard and a respect and a listening, and at the end of the day, like anywhere, they judge you as an individual, what kind of person you are.
Hartle says he's planning to donate a third of his tax savings to local nonprofits and charities. Teton County is one of the most philanthropic communities in America.
Am I part of the problem? Sure I am. I'm one of the people that came in and was able to buy a house at a marked up price. And I'm very grateful for that. But again, I also see that I have an obligation as a result.
For Elizabeth Hutchings, she says she just wants to make sure people like her, the horsepower that keeps this cowboy town running, can also call it home.
If we don't find a way to create a more equitable society and to support people with housing and human services, you won't have an economy. You won't have dozens of nice restaurants to eat at.
Do you look down the road and do you see yourself here in 10 years?
I don't care if I'm here in 10 years, but I want other people to have a better quality of life in 10 years.
This is the house that Jack built, is a nursery rhyme, which might need an update. How about the house Jack printed? Here's Ben Tracy.
It looks like some sort of industrial soft-serve machine, precisely pouring its pattern one layer at a time. What this giant robot is doing is hard to wrap your head around. It's printing a house.
This is a house 25.
Jason Ballard is the CEO of Icon, a company in Austin, Texas, using massive 3D printers to redesign home building.
And so is the future that we're all going to be out for a walk some night seeing robots building houses down the street?
Robotic construction is absolutely our future. This is a complete transformation in the way that we approach sheltering ourselves, in the way that we approach building.
This nearly 5-ton machine follows a computerized blueprint and can build the entire wall system of a home with a concrete mixture in less than a week. Traditional construction is used for the foundation, the roof, wiring, and plumbing. But printing the walls is several times faster than wood framing, and Icon says the concrete structures are highly energy efficient and can better withstand natural disasters.
So this house has curves.
That's right.
And you don't have to live in a boring box. These wavy 3D printed walls will eventually become this high design home. 3D printed homes are rare, but they're starting to pop up all over the world. These domes in Italy were printed out of dirt in 200 hours, and another company plans to build the first 3D printed neighborhood in the United States in the California desert near Palm Springs. So why are they catching on? Cost and speed. Icon is trying to cut the cost of construction in half while building homes twice as fast, something some housing market experts doubt is possible. But what's not in question is that the U.S. is currently 4 million homes short of buyer demand.
We need housing for homeless folks. We need affordable starter houses. We need middle market houses. So we need more of every kind of house, period. Also, construction work is hard. This doesn't get tired.
Yes, humans get tired doing this kind of work, but humans need jobs.
There's a nationwide shortage of skilled labor and construction professionals. We're filling a gap where there's not enough jobs.
So this bedroom right here could be a home office, could be a guest bedroom.
Paulo Soriano and his fiancée Shay Craig have been struggling to buy a home in Austin's red-hot housing market.
Each of these houses was printed in about a week.
Oh, wow. They came to look at some of the first 3D printed homes for sale in the country. The first level of this 4-bedroom, 4-bathroom house is printed concrete. The second floor is conventional construction. It will be listed for around $700,000.
So would you seriously consider buying something like this?
Absolutely.
100%.
Yeah. This is really such a good value in terms of space and the amount of bedrooms. You know, we want to start a family one day. We definitely need extra bedrooms to accommodate that, so.
Subtle hint.
Subtle hint.
Yeah.
This is the way we should be building.
Jason Ballard is also using this new technology to shoot for the moon. His company is working with NASA to design 3D printed shelter for astronauts who could one day live on the moon and Mars.
I think this makes construction exciting again, and it's inspiring and hopeful to have a solution.
A home renovation job like no other is the story Steve Hartman has to tell.
Any electrician can flip a switch, but only John Kinney of Woburn, Massachusetts can make a customer light up. Like this.
Please don't pinch me because I don't want to wake up. Yeah.
That's one fine electrician.
Oh, 1,000 times over.
Last month, 72-year-old Gloria Scott called John to fix a ceiling light, but he soon discovered that broken light was the least of her problems. Too poor to make any house repairs and too prideful to ask for help, Gloria's house was in total disrepair.
No lights, no running water. Yeah, I think I seen it on a Friday, and it stuck with me over the weekend. I said, I got to go back there, you know.
So John returned and started working for free. He also started a Facebook page titled Nice Old Lady Needs Help, where he called on other tradespeople to join him.
On the Facebook page, you said, it's not like we're trying to rebuild her whole house.
Yeah, well, now it looks like we are.
It sure does.
This whole porch is going to get rebuilt. You can see up there, that's where like a lot of the raccoons and stuff were getting in.
They've been at it about a month now, putting in all new electrical, all new plumbing, new windows and walls and ceilings. Almost everything is getting repaired or replaced, from the backyard lawn to the front porch steps.
Wow.
It's what you're supposed to do.
It's what you're supposed to do. Seems the whole town of Woburn has bought into that mantra.
Come on.
Even those who can't build are now showing up with shovels and rakes, sending gift baskets, and plying the workers with food.
Look at these people. I mean, I can't even comprehend the gratitude that I have.
John is equally speechless.
Yep. It's just, there's no words for it, you know.
It's not going to end with this house, though, either, is it?
I don't want it to, and that's why we put a name to it, the Glorious Gladiators, and we want to keep going with this.
John would like to see chapters of Gloria's Gladiators across the country, helping seniors in similar situations. Seniors like Gloria Scott, who had a broken light, but now shines brightly thanks to an electrician, hardwired for kindness.
Why settle for just decorating your home for Christmas when with just a little more effort, you can transform it into a hot property? That's where the TV siblings Michelle Miller has been tracking come in.
Typically for the show, we do 3 to 4 rooms.
Have you seen this face before?
Very uncomfortable right now, very uncomfortable.
Or this one?
We'll just carry you around like this for the whole thing.
Usually, they're side by side.
They sell, reimagine, renovate. They are the Property Brothers.
Drew, Jonathan, or is it?
Jonathan and Drew Scott, identical twins who for the last 8 years have been the reigning princes of TV home renovation.
These are just the shows that you guys started. Property Brothers, Buying, Selling, Brother versus Brother, Property Brothers at Home, on the Ranch, Drew's Honeymoon Home, and Outdoor Furniture Line, Scott Living, QVC.
We don't take ourselves too seriously. Would anyone who has their own garden gnome take themselves too seriously? I don't think so.
The secret to their success, according to them, the fact that they're just nice guys having fun.
Be professional.
What makes a great episode?
We know that slow motion renovations in tight jeans makes for a great episode.
And of course, the demolition, which I had to get in on.
1, 2, 3.
Ah!
For those who aren't familiar with their story, Jonathan is the contractor in the flannel shirt. Drew is the realtor, usually wearing a tie.
We do 3 months in a city, then we move on to the next one, and we'll do up to 17 projects at a time. So we do about 45 renos a year.
When do you have quiet time?
Hold on.
That
was our quiet
longest
time.
quiet time we've ever had.
Jonathan is the older one by 4 minutes.
I did sit on Jonathan's head in the womb for 9 months.
I heard about that.
So
he's always got a cheek up on me.
Yeah.
And the taller one is Drew.
But
right?
he fluffs his hair up to look taller.
Taller Drew.
Quarter
right?
taller, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but I'm smarter.
Drew is married to Linda, who also appears on the shows.
They bought their very first house together. Welcome to your new home. And we're renovating it into the house of their dreams.
And Jonathan, well, He's single.
We put the photos of Jonathan on a wheel, we call it the third wheel.
The worst is, a friend will invite me over and she'll say, hey, you've been working so hard, come, I'll cook you dinner, it'll be great. I'm like, that's so sweet, thank you. And I'll come over, and she's got hardwood samples laid out. She's using me!
One of their latest ventures is a children's book.
You get a free kitchen, and you get a free...
Book signings are fun. Part stand-up,
Okay, it's official, I'm retired.
part storytelling,
One sweet summer afternoon, Drew and Jonathan were doing what they did best, dreaming big.
and very entertaining.
Will you marry me?
The first thing that's going through my mind, it's like, it's not the kids who are really into this. But maybe I'm wrong.
Did you see the kids in the
I
audience?
did see the kids.
You're wrong.
So these are the new Property Brothers 2.0.
So where did this wholesome, amusing, wildly successful, and entrepreneurial match set come from? Here.
I mean, look at this place. This was your backyard.
Yeah, we lived in a postcard.
The foothills of the Canadian Rockies, just outside of Calgary, Alberta.
I mean, this is so much fun building forts, just getting out and exploring. Every day is a clear blue sky.
And fresh air.
Yeah, hold on, everybody stop. I feel healthier already.
Me too, me too.
Actually, the twins were born a few hours west of here, in Vancouver.
Did you have any idea these two were coming out at the same time?
No, we didn't. I was in the delivery room when Jonathan was born. And while the doctor was clearing out his throat, the nurse said to him, "Doctor, I think there's another baby here."
What were you thinking?
I was thinking, Joanne shouldn't have said what she said.
What did you say, Joanne?
Well, we'll just say it was beep.
Let's just say Joanne and Jim Scott went with it.
There was never a dull moment with those guys.
And no parents could be prouder.
Actually, when they were 7, they started their own business.
Because you told them they had to get a job. That's how they say it. Say, gentlemen, it's time for you guys to go find some work.
Well, they did. They called their business Jam Enterprises. John, Andrew, and Mum. And they had these wire hangers, which they covered with a silk material. And their motto on their business card was, "We take care of your hang-ups."
Jonathan and I have a lot that we wanted to accomplish. I mean, I love acting and directing, and Jonathan loved magic, and whatever we were passionate about, our parents supported us.
Even when they failed, which they did occasionally.
The first time I had my dreams crushed was when I was scammed and somebody stole all of my magic props. I was a teenager. I had put all my money into that. I literally wanted to be the next David Copperfield, and that was all taken away.
I don't think there's anything wrong with having a failure.
Yeah.
It's whether you get yourself back up on your feet.
Get back in the saddle.
By the way, in the Scott family, that's not just a figure of speech.
Oh my gosh, that's the code of the West.
It's the code of the West.
Wow.
Jim Scott was a real cowboy who followed his dreams from Scotland and taught his family the cowboy code.
Read it to me, will you?
Live each day with courage. Take pride in your work. The one I always remember is ride for the brand.
And so what does that mean in terms of your family?
Oh,
Be-
well,
be
we
true to
all ride
yourself
for the
and-
brand in this
yeah.
family.
One for all and all for one.
That's right, yeah.
All the members of the Scott family have appeared on the brothers' shows. Brother JD is a regular.
Actually, I gotta say, it's kind of nice. We're all over the world with everything we do. I think it's nice to actually have the entire family together.
Yes, it sure is.
Why do you think you're still doing it? Is it just your success keeps moving you along?
I think we just have too much fun that we don't want to stop. And then it's like a big family. All our crew, everybody else, they've been with us for a long time.
Play something, guys.
In reality, not just on reality TV, they all just like each other a lot.
Joy to the world, the Lord has come. Let earth receive her King.
A lavish mansion perched on a seaside bluff, standing empty for decades. We pay a visit to Bellasguardo. It's been the talk of Santa Barbara. What's become of the hideaway on the hill? Set high above 1,000 feet of coastline, Bellasguardo, Italian for beautiful lookout, was purchased by copper magnate Senator William Clark in 1923. He died 2 years later. The Italianate home on the 23-acre property was then torn down, and in 1933, Clark's widow, Anna, built the lavish, solid concrete home that remains today. One of the richest families of the Gilded Age, the Clarks, including daughter Huguette, used the home solely as a summer getaway. The shy Huguette took to art, spending her sun-filled days painting. Mysteriously, the family last visited Bellasguardo in 1953. 10 years later, when Huguette inherited the 23-acre estate, she gave the staff instructions to never change a thing. Custom coverings protected the furniture as the house sat empty for nearly 70 years, costing some $40,000 a month to maintain. Huguette never returned to Santa Barbara. She spent much of her later life in a New York hospital, dying in 2011 at 104. Since then, intrigue has grown over what will happen to Bellasguardo after a New York Times best-selling book. This spring, some of Huguette's paintings were on display in an exhibit at the Santa Barbara Historical Museum. And later this year, the foundation that now runs Bellasguardo will open the doors to tours for the first time, finally giving the public a chance to see the beautiful lookout for themselves. With winter less than 2 weeks away, it's the perfect time for some island hopping to a tropical spot. Say the spot where a fabulously wealthy woman assembled a unique collection of art. Connor Knighton is our guide.
Situated on nearly 5 acres of oceanfront property in Honolulu, Hawaii, the colorful gardens of this stunning, serene estate are hidden behind walls of solid white. From the street, you can't even catch a glimpse, and that was precisely the point.
I think that Doris came here for privacy. She was, I don't want to say hounded, but people were certainly interested in her life and her money.
Leslie Mickelson is the curator of the Shangri-La Museum of Islamic Art, Culture, and Design. But before Shangri-La was a museum, it was a home, the private residence of an intensely private heiress. Doris Duke was once known as the richest girl in the world. Born in 1912, she was the only child of James Buchanan Duke, founder of the American Tobacco Company and benefactor of Duke University. When James died in 1925, Doris was just 12 years old. He left her a massive fortune. Although Doris did her best to stay out of the limelight, the press documented her every move, including her surprise wedding to James Cromwell in 1935. The couple immediately left the country on an almost year-long trip around the world.
The kernel of Shangri-La was really born on the honeymoon trip, and we know that because Doris was very taken with her time in South Asia. She was very taken by the Mughal architecture that she experienced there, especially the Taj Mahal.
When the Cromwells finally arrived in Honolulu, intended to just be a brief stopover, they decided to stay and build their own Taj Mahal-inspired structure here. Hawaii offered privacy and a relaxed pace of life. Shangri-La was designed by Marion Sims Wyeth, the same architect who designed Mar-a-Lago. Although Duke divorced Cromwell shortly after construction was completed, she spent the rest of her life traveling back and forth to Hawaii, tweaking Shangri-La.
Well, Shangri-La is the only house that Doris actually built. She inherited the rest of her homes, and this is the one that she developed according to her own taste and preferences.
The interior of Shangri-La is a mismatch of centuries and styles, incorporating elements from Duke's travels throughout the Islamic world.
So in this hallway, we have one of our most celebrated artworks. This is our mihrab, or prayer niche.
This rare lustreware prayer niche was made in Iran in 1265. It's just around the corner from a room draped in bright blue fabric made in India in the 1960s. Duke collected everything from 16th century calligraphy to 18th century jewelry.
Doris wasn't collecting what other people were collecting, even within the boundaries of Islamic art. She was collecting things that nobody else was collecting.
And that unique collection forms the basis of what's now the Shangri-La Museum. When Duke died in 1993, she left behind part of her billion-dollar fortune to establish the Doris Duke Foundation for Islamic Art.
Single most important element of Islamic art would be the calligraphy.
Today, tours of Shangri-La are sold out months in advance. The museum has started an artist-in-residence program, inviting contemporary Islamic artists to study and work in Duke's former home. What was once the most private of retreats is now meant to serve the public. It's one of just a handful of Islamic art museums in the United States.
Well, I think especially in the current socio-political climate, I think that the arts and cultures of the Islamic world are poorly understood, and I think that that's something that Shangri-La can offer to the public. We can be your point of entry to this very rich and wonderful world.
A rich, wonderful world that once captivated the richest girl in the world.
From Steve Hartman, a story that proves it really does take a village.
This is not a national park.
Signals work?
This is a vehicle inspection site in Katy, Texas, where 22-year-old Jalen Gray started working after he quit college and his dream of becoming a park ranger.
It's not a really good feeling, giving up at all, but
sometimes it's not quitting, it's just doing the right thing.
Yeah, I had to do what I had to do, so.
Go, go, go! Today, Jalen's sole priority is his 12-year-old brother, Julian.
He's my reason.
All right, let's go. His reason and his responsibility. Their mother and only parent died 2 years ago.
I just miss her so much.
From that day on, I swore, at all costs, I'm protecting them.
And then things got worse.
Yeah, I was basically defeated. I had nowhere to go.
Life went from bad to unbearable after that big freeze hit Texas last year. The pipes burst in their house, the one their mother left them, and ruined everything.
Some strange times.
Then a contractor Jalen hired to fix it took their life savings and ran off.
Tragic, isn't it?
The boys were pretty much homeless, living with their last surviving close relative, when a nonprofit called Katy Responds caught wind. The group fixes up houses after natural disasters. Over the years, they've helped more than 100 families, but few more worthy than those boys.
Yeah, it breaks your heart.
Had to help.
Had to.
Executive Director Ron Peters.
They had no idea people would want to jump in and help them.
Which may explain their jaw-dropping, literally speechless reactions.
I was overwhelmed.
Thanks to an army of donors and volunteers, the brothers are finally and forever back in their mother's house. Fully renovated, better than ever. And although no builder could ever patch the hole in their hearts, Katy Responds did the next best thing.
There's just so many nice people in this room right now, and it makes me so happy.
When their mother died, Julian and Jalen thought all they had was each other. But they were off by one whole community.
Behold our Sunday morning set, before and after, reimagined by an actress turned decorator with a story worthy of a movie, as Alina Cho explains.
We want to keep this open to the view.
High up in the Hollywood Hills, this modern 3-bedroom home is about to go on the market.
We want people to walk into this space and feel at home. What we want is for them to walk in the front door, fall in love, and just know that it's it. It's like when you find the right mate or the right pet.
Meredith Bear is the ultimate matchmaker. She has a proven track record of taking a home like this one, totally empty, and dressing it up. The goal is to get as many prospective buyers to fall in love with it at first sight and make an offer.
You really have 12 seconds to capture them.
Constantine should know he's one of LA's top realtors, and this home is one of his listings.
And that's where all of this effort is 12 seconds long. And they'll walk in and they'll get to the stairs and they'll say, I'm done.
Seriously, it's happened.
It happens every day with me because of her.
Because of her.
Mm-hmm.
First challenge, you walk in and there's a wall.
So a console. A console and probably either an art or a mirror.
Lorena Segura is one of Meredith Baer's 36 designers.
I want to do rugs in here.
Last year, the company staged more than 2,000 homes nationwide. According to the industry, staged homes sell 76% faster, and often for tens of thousands of dollars above the asking price. Sometimes Baer designs for celebrity clientele, like Cher and Taylor Swift. The grand reveal. Oh, wow. Wow. I mean, this is amazing right here. In just 24 hours, Segura turned an empty wall into an inviting entrance.
So both are the keys. Always a beautiful piece of something live. You know, we love orchids, moss. And then the coffee table, I have a 5x5.
The living room went from drab to dramatic.
And then the bar stools go here.
And here in the kitchen, one of Baer's tried and true tricks. You put pasta here?
We'll have a clear glass container with pasta.
Carefully positioned props. I mean, the level of detail, what is this?
That's pesto.
You'll even leave an open cookbook out.
We want someone to be ready just to say, yes, this is me. I see myself there doing this.
In the dining room.
A large table is going to make the house feel larger. I know that sounds counterintuitive.
It did. The large mirror helped too. Here I saw that you brought in all of this wonderful art. Baer also seduces buyers with a little humor.
Yes. Well, it could be anything. I remember one time I did a master bedroom and I threw a negligee on the bed and shoes across the room in a Tiffany box that had just been opened.
Can you come to my house and make my bed like this?
It looks amazing. It looks amazing.
The seller, Jacob Weber, has hired Meredith Baer twice before.
They made it look like, this is a morning show, I can't refer to sex appeal, or can I?
You can.
All right, well, they made it look like people have a lot more sex in that house than had in it before.
Baer says sellers spend as little as $5,000 for a staging and as much as $150,000. Weber's cost? $14,500.
For that $14,000, you're probably going to make back $120,000. You know, so if you like money, then you would spend the 14 grand.
That budget will also get you a cozy man cave.
This is going to mean a lot to a young Hollywood couple to have their own screening room.
And Weber's house did sell in a little more than a month for $100,000 above the asking price. You've never had any formal design training.
I've never taken a class, not one.
And yet, you have it.
I always know that if I could just move that a little to the right, it looks better, and I don't know how I know that.
Instinctive.
Yes.
In college, Baer started modeling and appearing in commercials. That led to small parts on TV and in movies, which led to screenwriting. One of her films starred a then unknown George Clooney.
Charles wants the old me or a divorce.
Great, I got a terrific lawyer.
Fast forward to 1998. She was renting a home in LA and fixed it up so beautifully, the owner sold it out from under her.
I had 250 plants and nowhere to go.
And a house full of furniture.
Yes, and so I had a friend who was trying to sell a house, had been on the market for about a year, and it was empty, and I said, okay, how about I bring all of these plants over there?
So she fixed up that home too, And it sold within a week for $500,000 above the asking price. Suddenly, she had the makings of a business, but no place of her own.
I was now homeless. So I'd say, okay, and part of the deal is that I'll live here and I'll give you a discount. Because I just love making things beautiful, any house I lived in would sell usually within weeks.
So you were moving a lot.
It did get to me. You never quite feel secure. You really don't ever know how your day is going to end and start. You have no control over your life.
Times have changed. Today, Meredith Bear is the largest home stager in the country, with a staff of 250. Offices in 5 cities.
Right. LA, San Francisco, Miami, Hamptons, and New York.
Bear's office near Los Angeles sits above a 200,000 square foot warehouse. How quickly can you make a couch?
In a day. We keep them by color, size.
Miles of lamps, chairs, rugs, fake fruit, fake flowers, golden Buddhas, jars of Q-tips and cotton balls, a full-time artist. There's laundry, too, because someone's got to iron all the sheets. So what if a prospective buyer not only wants the house, but everything inside, too?
It's for sale. Everything is for sale. I always said I would sell anything except for my cat.
There is one occupational hazard. After seeing the transformation, sometimes the seller decides to stay put, like actress Scarlett Johansson.
We staged her house and then she went, oh, I kind of like this house now, and took it off the market. And bought a lot.
Imagination. You have to imagine something new. So you had empty lots, abandoned swaths of land, and we were able to imagine something else.
That's the Reverend David Brawley of St. Paul Community Baptist Church in East Brooklyn, New York. And he's talking about an enterprise that's been 40 years in the making. A lot of his parishioners live in this neighborhood.
There was a time when this community was known as the murder capital of the state of New York.
Linger on that for a moment. Live there? People didn't even want to drive through the neighborhood. It was that unimaginably awful. But in the early 1980s, community organizers dreamed up an audacious plan to build privately owned houses to be sold at working-class prices. They took land that nobody wanted and turned it into something highly desirable. They called it the Nehemiah Project. It got its name from an Old Testament developer, the prophet Nehemiah, who rebuilt the walls around the ancient city of Jerusalem.
Equity.
Equity.
Right.
Equity. When you have a home, that's what you got.
It's the American dream. Everything changes when you have equity. Communities are able to build wealth. Families are able to build wealth. Life changes intergenerationally.
Here in East Brooklyn, as in many parts of the country, African American and Latino families faced rampant discrimination, getting affordable financing or even where they could buy property. You're sort of a repository of the history of this community.
Yes, I am.
Sarah Plowden is a venerated figure at St. Paul's Church, holding the honorific title of Queen Mother. She's been involved with the Nehemiah Project from the beginning when she was a church secretary, and her family lived in what used to be called the projects.
It was like living with no hope. These kids cannot imagine how bad it was.
Well, remind them.
I want to forget it.
I know you do, but I want you to remember it just for the moment.
Okay, to shut the lights off and the roaches appeared. To live with rats and mice. I don't wish that on nobody.
These were neighborhoods you drove through to go someplace else, not any place you wanted to be.
Kirk Goodrich grew up in the area to become an affordable housing developer. One, it should be noted, who has helped transform this East Brooklyn neighborhood.
This was landfill.
Landfill sounds like such a nice neutral term. What does landfill
Trash
mean?
dump.
Trash dump.
Right. People would come here and dump dead pets, although I didn't see it. I'm sure bodies were, here.
But what was also buried under all that rubble and garbage was opportunity.
To continue in the struggle.
Those community organizers came from local churches and worked with the Industrial Areas Foundation, the engine driving the Nehemiah Project.
We came from the struggle. Are you ready for the resurrection of your community?
EBC, East Brooklyn Churches, worked with local people to raise money that could be used for loans. They mobilized the community to put pressure on local politicians. Back then, Ed Koch was the mayor of New York City.
You came to a big open meeting, they'd bring in 500 people, they would cheer you, they would boo you, whatever it is to manipulate you.
And the pressure paid off. Koch sold 16 square blocks of New York City property at $1 a lot, and the city provided subsidies. Under a Democrat mayor, sure. But how about this fellow?
We're going to make sure that there's enough funding in the budget so that Spring Creek can begin, so that it can begin on time, and so that it won't be interrupted.
That's right, the Republican mayor of New York, Rudy Giuliani. And all the while, East Brooklyn churches raised millions toward a fund that helped defray costs.
I want to go pick me up some of that dirt.
Even so, initially, there were very few takers.
When I got to look at the area, though, I was not excited, I'll tell you that.
Matilda Dyer, an immigrant from the Caribbean island Dominica. She worked as a nurse. Her husband Clinton worked as a welder. They were not easily discouraged.
It was totally abandoned. It didn't seem possible that you could have a thriving community of homes.
What tipped the scales for Matilda Dyer was that the project was being put together by East Brooklyn churches.
I didn't know all about EBC, but I know it was churches, and I know with churches, God is in the center.
You are describing what is often referred to as an act of faith.
It is. It was faith. And after I stepped forth, 3 or 4 of my friends, they purchased homes in there.
Those first Nehemiah homes cost $40,000. Now, this was almost 40 years ago. For many homeowners like the Dyers, the mortgage payments were actually less than the rent they had been paying. Soon, those Nehemiah homes became so popular that people had to enter lotteries just for the chance of owning a home. People like Sandra and Armando Martinez. He was a political refugee from El Salvador. Both of them were teachers, each working 2 jobs to raise their 2 children, whom they helped put through college.
2002, we went to church on a Sunday, like always. The priest told us that it will be a coupon in the newspaper to apply for affordable houses.
And then what happened? Then you waited?
Then we waited.
How long before they called you?
5 years after, say that we have...
5 years later?
Yes.
They pull the number, you move into the house.
No, we had the number, so that means we eventually, one day, will have a house.
I stand as witness. A dream can become a reality. It was a struggle for me to own it, but it was worth it.
By the early 1990s, Miss Plowden, who worked at St. Paul's Church, finally could afford to buy a home of her own. How much did you pay for your home? Do you remember?
Yes, I do remember. It was $120,000.
And what is your home worth now?
Over $500,000.
So when you pass on and you leave that to your children, you're leaving an estate.
Yes, I am, but I don't intend to leave them a paid-for house. I intend to enjoy my money and my house.
Message received. All 3 of Miss Plowden's sons own property of their own. Overall, the Nehemiah homes have created an estimated $1.5 billion in wealth for first-time Black and Latino homeowners. Here's developer Kirk Goodrich.
This is the most consequential, important community development effort in our country because it was done by one organization over 40 plus years, and they've never stopped.
There are Nehemiah projects at various stages of development around the country. So far, they've built 6,500 homes. The houses are quite literally the foundation. But the owners, says the Reverend Brawley, they're the ones who breathe life into a community.
People who are city workers who now own a home, people who have come out of public housing, teachers, law enforcement officers, fire department workers who now own their own homes.
And the harder the struggle to get here, the greater the sense of achievement. It took the Martinez family 7 years to get their house.
This is our palace, and every day we thank God. We think that every other families should have the same opportunity.
You can't be what you can't see. Nehemiah for us is something for everybody to see. It is possible.
As you like to say in this building, amen.
Amen.
Our homes are private spaces, not museums. But Mark Phillips in London walks us through a museum that's a collection of homes.
There's a 300-year-old row of townhouses in London where they know all about how the home has changed over the years. Today, this building is the Museum of the Home, where they're just getting ready to reopen after a 3-year refurbishment, and just in time.
Could there have been a better time for a Museum of the Home to reopen?
It's a brilliant time for us to be talking about home because, around the world, people have been in lockdown, which means that people have been thinking more intensely about their domestic spaces than ever before.
Sonia Solikari is the museum's director.
What are we looking at here? Drawing room 1915, it says.
Yep, so this is a suburban family home.
Sonia oversees the exhibits that recreate the spaces we've lived in over time. This one goes back to the 1600s. And they continue through the technological and social changes that have brought us to today, from the arrival of the knife and fork, to electricity, to television, to the home computer. Sometimes that journey has been more of a circle than a straight line, back to the future.
We like to think, that we've invented everything.
Yeah.
And now we think this whole idea of working from home, the home office, is a brand new thing, is it?
No. If you look back at the home, certainly in the UK in the 1600s, in an urban environment, you were very likely to be living above the shop or conducting business from your hall space.
You haven't gotten around to the home office room yet. Is that coming?
No, but like I said, our room from the 1630s does talk about the fact that...
In the 1630s?
Yeah, but I know, absolutely.
The home office today, of course, wouldn't be possible without the connectivity that started with the phone.
Yeah, so the telephone, obviously, it started to come into the home from the 1870s.
And if you think our lockdown lifestyle was a new thing, look at what's next to it, a restaurant menu.
So, when takeaway started to come in the 1970s, people could call out for their food, something which we absolutely take for granted now.
We sure do.
And that shopping from home thing, that's not new either. Remember the mail order catalog?
That started to really blossom in the 19th century, huge mail order market, started very much in the States, came over to the UK very quickly.
How we lived, how we cleaned.
So this room tells the story of the pain and pleasure of housework. So
it's partly about what you use, the machinery and the stuff, but it's also partly about who did it. I suppose as well, right?
Yeah, that's one of the stories that we tell, definitely. The gender division within housework.
Yeah.
That's a debate which is still ongoing.
The unresolved here.
The rooms tell our history. The suburban living room, the bachelor pad, the loft apartment.
So this is part of the trend for converting industrial buildings. It happened a lot in New York, it happened in London in the East.
But does a place like this give you a sense of perspective, a sense of history? It's always changed.
Yep, I think it's always changed. There's always been challenges, and the home is evolving not just through time, but week to week, day to day. I mean, how you might think about your home in the morning might be different to how you think about it in the evening. So home is constantly evolving.
Of course, few of us will ever live in a home the size of this one. David Pogue looks at living large and living small.
Part of the American dream has always been
Hello there.
a big house.
Thanks for coming.
I like your foyer.
Thank you.
Like the New Jersey home of Calvin and Ursula Knowlton. I'd love a little tour. Whose house measures 40,000 square feet, not counting the finished basement.
Back here, we have the shower and the bathtub.
Wow! And you failed to mention the elevator
And the
in the
elevator
bathroom.
that goes down to the workout room.
Oh man, it's a human car wash.
So this is Cal's office.
And there's a chapel adjacent. When things aren't going well in the business, you can...
I'm there.
Most people will never get a chance to live in a house with this much space. Are there certain advantages to it that might not occur to the average person?
Well, you don't bump into anybody very often. So we call each other on the phone.
Within the house?
Within the house.
Okay. Is there such a thing as a downside to having a really big house?
Yeah, that you don't run into people very often. You know.
Trying to find your cell phone when you've lost it isn't fun at all.
The Knowltons built the house to accommodate gatherings of their 8 children, but they didn't always live in this much space. Did you ever imagine as a kid you'd be living in a house like this?
Absolutely not. Never. My dad struggled a lot. When I was in high school, we lost a house. I mean, it was like, it was bad. You know, when you go through that type of struggle, it puts a real dent in you. I think it gave me more purpose.
When we talk about size, it is about wealth and power and the American dream.
Setha Lowe is a professor of environmental psychology at the City University of New York. She says that not everyone needs big square footage to be happy, especially when they're just starting out.
I lived in a little tiny studio apartment, and I was very comfortable. Why? Well, I could control it. I could afford it. It might be perfect for someone at one moment in time.
Come on in.
For 20-year-old dancer Miriam Zork,
This isn't my forever home. It's just like a little, I'm only gonna be here for like a year, so it's an adventure.
the perfect place at this moment in time is a 75-square-foot apartment.
It's pretty great for me. I'm young and I get to live in New York and I can afford it. Want to see the view?
She gave us a little tour. Very little.
I have like this little sofa thing that pulls out and then you can like do that. So I've had like guests sleep on that because it reclines all the way too.
So this is the guest room?
Yes, this is the guest room and the living room and everything. This is the kitchen, fridge. I got a little hot plate here. And then I have a sink over there so I can brush my teeth in here. And then it is shared bathroom situations.
And is there an issue with slobs in the bathroom?
It's not like beautiful, but I wouldn't say it's too bad.
The second floor?
Oh yeah, the second floor, all the way up here is my bed.
Would you mind telling us what you're paying for it?
Sure, I pay $1,100 a month. That's utilities included.
That's less than a third of the average rent for a Manhattan studio apartment. Where's the rest of it?
Let me check inside the fridge.
Second floor?
Yeah.
Realtor Cash Jordan makes YouTube videos about apartments, including this 60-square-foot space.
If you come to New York City and you're trying to save as much money as you can, you're going to go look at apartments with a roommate.
He points out that you're getting about the same space you'd have if you shared the place, but it costs less and it's all yours.
A two-bedroom in this part of town might run you $2,000 per roommate, but $1,300 here.
But saving money is no longer the only reason people are considering smaller living spaces. Setha Lowe believes that a sustainable, beautifully designed home is becoming a status symbol too.
More and more people are becoming quite sensitive to their carbon footprint. The trend is also to design some of these small spaces in really beautiful and thoughtful ways.
Okay, so you see the couch.
Ways like this.
But what do you want to see first, the office space or the closet?
There's an office space?
Yes, there is.
No. Oh.
Talk about expandable furniture.
An office?
Yes, it is.
Oh my gosh. Oh, look at this.
Isn't this amazing?
It's the origami apartments. According to broker and YouTuber Talia McKinney, this 200-square-foot studio feels much bigger thanks to movable walls designed by a company called Ori Living. If I'm living in this apartment and I'm working, I don't need a living room.
Exactly.
Until I go to the living room, and then I don't need an office. The closet can disappear too.
People who say they need this walk-in closet and then you're not using the space.
Yeah.
It's a waste.
Even the bedroom folds away.
Here we go. You have your bed,
So the furniture of the living room,
You don't even have to move it, it stays there.
And if somebody's in the way,
I don't notice that there's a bedroom descending on my... Oh, just like a little pat on the hair.
A little tap, there we go.
Very nice, well done.
as for the Knowltons, their children are grown now. So their 40,000 square foot home is for sale, listed at $25 million.
Empty nesters?
Empty nesters in a big nest.
Very public people tend to treasure their privacy, except, as Serena Altschul explains, when Architectural Digest rings the bell.
Hi, AD. Come on in.
Okay, admit it. Most people like to take a peek at how the rich and famous live.
I love my table.
Right?
But the craziest stuff happens in my karaoke room.
It's an escape. And these days, a needed guilty pleasure.
One of our elements of high design are these signs everywhere.
After being stuck inside our own homes for the past 2 years.
Hello, AD.
Well, we're in luck.
Welcome to my home.
Month after month, bold-faced names like tennis star Maria Sharapova open their doors for Architectural Digest.
Your bowling alley really stood out. I think that stands out for me too. Are you not that I'm a bowler or anything?
Bowling alley aside, Sharapova's home is a place she finds refuge after jetting around the world.
It's a safe place to come home to. It's sheepskin.
A place she felt safe letting AD inside for a glimpse.
I think from an outside perspective, people only see what you get them, right? But there's also a human element to every athlete, and this was a really incredible opportunity to show that to the world.
My life centers around playing, so I always want to be able to pick up an instrument and play.
Interior design-obsessed rocker Lenny Kravitz agrees.
As a designer, being on the cover of AD is an honor, of course. It's like being a musician and being on the cover of Rolling Stone. And the featured piece here is this red velvet chair that belonged to Andy Warhol.
This month's cover features the annual AD 100 list, the very best designers in the business. For a century now, Architectural Digest has been taking note of how and where we live.
Should I sign it to both of you?
Just before the pandemic, the magazine celebrated 100 years with a book of its favorite homes and a stylish party.
I want to thank everybody for coming out tonight.
Vogue Global Editorial Director Anna Winter helps oversee AD for parent company Condé Nast.
To be in an Architectural Digest meant that you'd achieved great heights and that it was the final stamp of recognition.
In 2016, Winter's protege, Amy Astley,
thank you, Anna,
was hired to boost the brand.
I think she brought it a new perspective, a younger perspective, and she brought it charm and personality and intelligence, and it was a little bit less maybe rigid than it had been before.
I wanted it to be buzzy, current, relevant, people to talk about it, which now people will say to me, I saw Maria Sharapova on the cover, I saw Lenny Kravitz on the cover, I saw...
Astley's first cover as editor-in-chief was fashion designer Marc Jacobs.
Lots of people had asked him in New York and he had said no. So he was waiting for the right moment, and Architectural Digest was the right moment for Marc Jacobs.
Now even the most private A-list stars seem to pull back the curtain.
What is it about human nature that makes us so curious about each other's homes?
Yeah.
Is it fantasy?
Yes.
Is it, voyeurism?
You want to see how other people live. Yeah. It's an enduring interest to see beautiful homes, how other people live, what that could look like. Maybe it's inspiring, or maybe you're like, oof, I hate that. Mm-hmm. And I think that's also just a sense of hope for people.
Right.
Someday, I'm going to have the house I really want.
But
you get a sense of the chairs. That's a very classic chair that we still see. But it is a snapshot of that time.
And boy, has the way we live changed since the Architectural Digest was founded in California in 1920.
I mean, the old ways people lived, very formal, very stiff, it's completely different now. You know, like you wouldn't have had an open kitchen in the old days.
No one would want to live near the refrigerator and the
No.
stove. Bathrooms.
Bathrooms.
Right.
You wouldn't show that back in the day, and
Right.
now it's a trophy room, you know.
Led for decades by the late editor Paige Rents, AD has both recorded and set design styles.
It's really
It's
wild to see
amazing.
the different trends in decorating. Or here's the glamorous, nighttime shoot in the dark. Now we mainly shoot in daylight because, tastes change and times change.
And those times are captured in a time capsule.
Where are we headed?
We're headed to cold storage, Serena.
Okay, what's in here?
Delicate materials.
We got a rare look inside the Condé Nast archive.
This is the vault. Cold storage. Oh my gosh.
It's 40 degrees
Whoa.
in here.
It's an ice locker.
We're in the
Meat
cold storage. It's like a converted meat locker.
Right.
It's like walking back in time.
It really is. And no one gets to come in here.
No, I don't. This is special for you.
AD's original files and images, like Fred Astaire's living room, are stored in perfect order, naturally, next to other legendary titles like Vogue and The New Yorker.
And how fun is this, Vanity Fair? This is why we're not allowed here, because
Right.
I am snooping around where I am not meant to
Digging
be.
through. I have a feeling that your home pretty much looks this together most of the time.
100% it does.
And there's a pretty good reason why. Interior designers Nate Berkus and Jeremiah Brent and their 2 kids are familiar faces in Architectural Digest, along with their homes.
My mom was an interior designer, so we had a subscription to AD growing up, and it was always on the coffee table until it got too high, and then my mom would move the old issues somewhere else. But it was the magazine you didn't throw away, because it really was a documentation of the history of design.
Even for star designers, it's still a thrill to say yes to AD.
You have to be pretty much willing to swing the doors open as wide as possible to say, this is our life, please welcome. We would love to have this record of this time in our lives and this time in particular in our kids' lives.
There's such an emotional component to it. It's really special.
And that's always been AD's secret, eliciting an emotion, a special feeling of home.
Architectural Digest has lasted 100 years because of the quality of the mission, that we're showing you the best.